If you can indulge an old man for just a moment, I want to share a special memory. From the moment I was first unleashed onto Hyrule Field in Ocarina of Time, the Legend of Zelda has held a very special place in my heart. Each iteration subsequently brought something special to the series, yet, to me, that moment on Hyrule Field would remain unsurpassed until 2017 with the launch of Breath of the Wild. There's a moment right at the start where you leave the Great Plateau and are set free into Hyrule, and you realise that there's this amazing and beautiful world full of wonder and adventure right at your fingertips. That moment made me realise just how incredible Breath of the Wild was going to be, and that things would never be the same. No amount of nostalgia or looking into the past through rose-tinted glasses could surpass it. My son would always ask me to review Breath of the Wild, but because Tears of the Kingdom had dropped before I even started my outlet, I had no real reason to. With the launch of the Switch 2, that's changed, and Nintendo saw fit to upgrade Breath of the Wild with a visual overhaul, mobile app integration, and faster loading times, meaning that it was finally time for me to put pen to paper. What's it like? Download your upgrade pack, grab a sword and shield, and cook some meals as we review Breath of the Wild for Nintendo Switch 2. I still remember picking up my Switch at midnight and diving into Breath of the Wild long after the sun had come up. It wasn't just the excitement of a new console that had me hooked, it was the feeling of being dropped into a ruined world that was as vast as it was mysterious. It felt like the complete opposite of Ocarina of Time's version of Hyrule before the time jump. I wasn't trying to save a kingdom on the brink, but one already lost. Later, we would learn that Breath of the Wild actually takes place in a timeline where Link failed to stop Ganon, and it reframed everything. This wasn't a world waiting for a hero, but a world that stopped believing in one. What made Breath of the Wild so revolutionary was how carefully it redefined Zelda for a new era. Instead of large, intricate dungeons, we were given shrines that were perfect for short bursts of handheld play to complement the nature of the original Switch. Survival elements like temperature, stamina, and weather grounded the game, while weapon degradation added a layer of unpredictability to combat. Love it or hate it, it made every encounter feel tense, forcing you to think on your feet when something broke. After all this time, even in the shadow of Tears of the Kingdom, I still believe that Breath of the Wild is the more magical experience. Tears redefined it and expanded on what came before, but Breath of the Wild had that sense of seeing a new horizon and not really knowing what was beyond it. The game delivered so many of these moments, like the first time you tamed a horse, wandered into an enemy camp by mistake, or even tried to cook a dubious recipe just to survive the cold. It was difficult and unfamiliar, yet unmistakably Zelda by carefully integrating familiar characters and themes. From the moment I stepped out of the Shrine of Resurrection again, Breath of the Wild on Switch 2 feels meaningfully enhanced. That iconic shot where Link emerges into the open world for the first time, it hit me all over again. The landscape is sharper and more vibrant, and it's significantly more detailed. The shadows feel more dynamic, environmental textures like rock faces and grasslands pop in a way that they never did before, and the distant scenery holds its form rather than dissolving into blur. It's still the same Hyrule, but now it feels like I'm seeing it again through fresh eyes. The frame rate is perhaps the biggest game changer. Gone are the stutters in place like Korok Forest or during weather-heavy combat. Everything runs at a buttery smooth, consistent pace. Combat feels tighter and gliding feels more responsive, and there's a newfound elegance to simple traversal that makes exploration even more satisfying. Load times have also been slashed dramatically. Fast travel now takes mere seconds, which transforms the pacing. A surprise addition to the Switch 2 version is a mobile app integration, which quietly fits into the experience without ever demanding your attention. It's clearly designed with completionists in mind, offering helpful map tracking and log access, but the best part is it's entirely optional, and you're never forced to use it. There's nothing of substance locked behind it, and I really appreciated that. For players that do want that extra layer of information or want to optimize their playthrough, it's a great bonus. But for everyone else, it stays politely out of the way. While the gameplay of Breath of the Wild remains largely untouched, it's a presentation that truly breathes new life into this Switch 2 version. The art direction with its quasi-cel-shaded look and textures was always striking, but the increased resolution and stability now push it into something truly stunning. The visuals are crisp and clean, but unmistakably stylized. Rather than chase photorealism, Breath of the Wild presents a timeless aesthetic that feels even more beautiful in motion. Every corner of Hyrule now feels more alive, whether you're gliding across the desert at sunset or climbing a cliffside in the early morning. What really brings it all together is the game's ensemble of strange, sincere, and occasionally over-the-top characters. The Yiga clan, the Sheikah scientists, and the champions of old. Their designs remain expressive and distinctive, and they still feel like key threads in the game's emotional fabric. The world not only looks good, but it feels good to be in, and that's thanks to the thoughtful cohesion between art, sound, and character design. This harmony between visuals and the world building gives Hyrule a true sense of scale, not just in terms of geography, but in the weight of its history, and that's often told through flashbacks in the game. Every mountain range or abandoned ruin and small stable feels like it belongs in a world with real stories, real people, and a real past. The immersion further drags you in with its dulcet piano tones and emotional score, occasionally upping both the ante and the tempo when you unknowingly waltz into a guardian's line of sight. For returning players, this is the perfect excuse to rediscover what made Breath of the Wild special. If you've been away for a while, you'll likely find yourself amazed all over again by its scale and freedom and the emotional story. If you played Tears of the Kingdom recently, you might be surprised to find that Breath of the Wild still holds its own, perhaps even more so. It has simpler systems and the absence of sky levels, but its grounded design makes for a more focused and serene experience. First-time players, meanwhile, are getting the definitive version. The original game was a masterpiece. This version is that same masterpiece, but polished and smoothed out. Its world's even more inviting and even more impactful. Whether you've wandered Hyrule before or are stepping into it for the very first time on Switch 2, Breath of the Wild is hard to fault, and in this gamer's humble opinion, may well stand as the greatest Legend of Zelda experience ever crafted. Its engaging narrative, sweeping design, and elegant mechanics come together to create something truly special. Back in 1998, it was Ocarina of Time that first gave me that unforgettable moment, standing in Hyrule Field, filled with wonder of what lie ahead. For nearly 2 decades, nothing could quite match that feeling. But then, Breath of the Wild came along, and somehow, even now, all these years later, it still captures that same magic, perhaps even more so. Breath of the Wild on Nintendo Switch 2 isn't just special, it's perfect. So, what's it like? Breath of the Wild is how the child in me wants to remember Ocarina of Time.
When the beast regains its true power, this world
I award it
its
a
end.
perfect score. If you haven't experienced Breath of the Wild, this is the best way to do so. And if you have experienced it before, this is the best way to revisit it. Thanks so much for watching my video. If you liked it, the best way you can support What's It Like is by liking, subscribing, and sharing it with your friends. For more reviews, click on the thumbnails to the right, and for everything Nintendo, check out whatsitLike.com.au.